So I think the biggest moment for Jesus was before, Holy Week, before the Passion of his last week on earth, when he decided that he needed to go to the garden. And so I'm going to read you the passage from Mark chapter 14. It is also in Matthew. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took with him Peter and James and John and began to be distressed and agitated. And he said to them, "My soul is deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake." And going in a little farther, he threw himself on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want." He came back and found the disciples sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into a time of trial. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak." And again, Jesus went away and prayed, saying the same words. And once more he came back and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. He came a third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. Look, my betrayer is at hand." So the Gospel of Matthew says it a little bit differently, and I used the New Revised Standard, so it didn't have the thy will and your will, but we all got the gist of that, right? What I wanted to do was to break that down and talk about, why it's even there. If Jesus represents that Christ consciousness that's within all of us, how could he be feeling like he can't go on? Because remember that Jesus was both human and divine, just as we are both human and divine. And it is in the Garden of Gethsemane that he kind of changes. He's transforming. He's moving from that place of his human self where he knows there might be risks to what needs to happen, and he's transmuting and creating more space for that Christ consciousness to come into him so that he is fully realized as the Christ before his death. In metaphysics, Gethsemane is called it represents like a pressing or a pressure. And so Gethsemane in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary represents a place in consciousness where we are finding it difficult to move from one place to the other. But it's very important that he go through this process, just as it's important for us to go through. this process. So we have the three apostles, and I think I mentioned last week the power of the three, which reminds me of the Trinity, the mind, body, soul aspect of our lives, and how all three together bring us to that wholeness, to that Christ center. But in this case, we also have three specific apostles. The Apostle Peter, who represents faith. The Apostle James, who represents wisdom or judgment. And the Apostle John, who represents love. And so I'd like to break it down just a little bit for you so that you can understand where this is coming from. Our first power, when you look at it from, when we do it in the monthly increments, is almost always faith. Some unities do it a little bit different, but faith is that January, that first month, that's the start. And it's because of that, we want to create that foundation in faith. We want to trust. We want to be able to move forward with that love and with that Christ nature. But in this case, when Jesus brings those three apostles with him, he asks them to stay awake. He asks them to stay aware. And what do? They fall asleep. So faith is present, love is present, wisdom is present, but it's not fully awake yet. It's not fully formed into what Jesus can use in that Christ presence. And we know that faith is the ability to trust beyond appearances. So when Jesus is in the garden and he falls to his knees and he says, take this cup from me, he's saying, I don't know if I can do this in this form. I don't know if I can do what you're asking me to do, but if it is your will, I surrender. I will do it. And so it is through that process that he goes in each time, 3 different times, and he asks them to stay awake. He asks them, so he's like kind of revitalizing them and asking them once again to stay awake. And then at the end, in Mark, he's kind of critical and says, well, it's too late now. The hour is at hand. But in Matthew, he says it more gently. He says, rest now. Know that your rest will bring the truth. Rest now, for the hour is at hand. And the difference between the two, I think, is, how we perceive how that's happening. So when we have faith in something, when we are seeing without, or when we are believing without seeing, when we are trusting, we're doing it from a place of higher consciousness. But when we add to that the wisdom that we receive from the divine, which is that knowing, that intention, intuition, that place where you just trust and know and have conviction that you are following the will of our higher power. And then you add to that love, that steadfast, unconditional love, taking into account the love of self, the love for others, and in Jesus' case, the love of humanity, to be that way shower, to create a space for us to be able to achieve that Christ consciousness. In the revealing word, wisdom is knowing what to do and how to do it. And then love is the harmonizing power that binds all things together. So we have that ability to trust beyond appearance, and then knowing what is to do and how to do it, and then having that power to bind all three things together to create that part of self. And I might have done this a couple years ago. So if you think about where they are in the body, so faith is in the head, right? I think. I could be wrong. Oh my God, I don't know now. I don't remember. Anyway, we'll forget that. I know wisdom is here and love is here. And usually for me, when I see that love and wisdom are together combined, that creates that space where we know our Christ consciousness is. That's why a lot of times when we meditate, we talk about going to that heart space, going into that place of knowing. So without all three things together, Jesus isn't able to fully reflect his full consciousness. So that's why he brings them with him. But it is after he gets out of the garden that he has resigned, he has surrendered to what is coming next. And he knows that Judas is coming. He knows that things are going to get worse. And he lets go. He says, I will do it. I don't like it. I don't want it. But I know this is what your will is, and I will do it. So when was there a time in your life when you felt like that? When was there a time in your life when you felt, I know what I need to do, but I can't? I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I had a friend who joined a minister's protest of the anti-trans legislation that is going on in Kansas. And she told a story online about her experience, how she knew that she needed to do this, that she wanted to be fully present for her congregation, which has a large LGBTQ community, that this is impacting human lives, whether we believe in that gender identity or not, they're still human beings. And they're being restricted from doing things in their life that everybody else can do. And so she feels very strongly about this. So she goes to her board and they talk about it. This is what I'm going to do. This is going to be hard. I might get arrested. What will the board do? What will the congregation do to support me if that happens? And they have a policy, a process, a procedure to go through and do that. And there was video, and I saw her in the video. She was removed 3 times, but 3 times she went back and sat back down. And she wasn't doing anything. She was sitting, and she was praying, and she was singing. And so every time they tried to remove her, she just sat right back down and started singing again. And in the end, they just left the ministers there. I think there were a few that were arrested. She was not one of them, thankfully. But just think about how hard that would be. I don't know if I could do that. I want equality for everyone. I want love to be the answer. But that's hard. And so what I can do is be a witness for her and show her the respect, the love, and to learn from her how best to do this in my life, in my way. So when faith falters, when wisdom is unclear, when love feels distant, we know that there is something even deeper within us, and that is that Christ. And it is in that Christ nature, in that space, that we know that we can say yes, that we can say, not my will, but thy will be done. Our human self is limited, but our eternal divine self is unlimited in possibilities. And while there might still be consequences for the actions that we take, we hold on to that faith. We hold on to that power of love. We hold on to that truth that we know, and we do the hard thing because it's the right thing to do. Have you been there? Have you felt that? I'm in a space right now where I'm not sure what to do or how to do it. I studied for years as a minister. I learned to hold sacred space. I know how to counsel. I know how to ask questions in the right way. But I don't know how to show up like that. And I don't necessarily have to, right? That's not necessarily mine to do. But what I do need is to figure out what is mine to do, what is clear for me. So I need to spend time in my garden. I need to spend time in the garden and figure it out. And have faith. Allow divine wisdom to reach me. And then create a space for love where I can then take correct action. And I hope that you all can do that too in your own way for whatever the circumstance is that fills your heart with uncertainty and fear. And know that as your minister, I will support you in any way that I can to uplift, to hold sacred space, to pray, and to offer any kind of physical support that I can. This I know I can do. So if you have any needs that are in your heart, in your mind, that you are just not sure about and need that guidance, I am here. You can also call Silent Unity and ask for prayer from them. You can put a prayer in our prayer box. You don't even have to tell us what the real issue is if you don't want to. Just put your name and tell us what you would like us to pray for, whether it's wisdom, whether it's imagination, whether it's strength, whatever that need is. We will do it as a community, and we will do it together. So let's go hang out in the garden. It might be dark. But there is light. And that light shines through each one of us as the Christ. So, shine on, everybody. Thank you.
Hello? Check? Okay. So, I found this song called I Surrender by Aaron Wright, I believe, is the artist. I really like it a lot, and so I thought this is perfect for today. Oh, this road has been hard on my feet, on my heart. Led me to the people's hell. I know sorrow all too well. Lost my love to the wind. Left me half of who I am. Heavy load, heaven knows I'm tired. I give up.